up? Hello, this is the one and only Vero Fuerte hitting you back up with another episode of In Living Spanglish. That's right, it's your girl over here with her favorite co-host, my only co-host if we don't count Frankie. It's Ricardo Mexicano. Say what's up to the people, my man.
Until Frankie learns how to speak any sort of language, I'm going to remain here in my position, so yeah.
I feel like I can understand his different meows, at least his different dialects. He's been sick for like the past 2 days, so I feel like we've bonded since then. You know, we are one.
That's great, but until like the vast majority of like the human population can understand some form of like, you know,
cat meow language.
Yeah.
He really doesn't meow. He like whimpers, and it's been killing me because he hasn't been eaten. But that's beside the
he's gonna remain an unemployed meow speaker.
Yeah.
To put it very simply.
Freeloader.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's good to be here again. Got another great show for y'all. But as always, Veronica, hit them with the Latinx, whatever birthday.
That's right. Okay, well, the Latinx birthday today, you guys, we have a big one. So happy birthday this past week to the famed Pedro Fernandez. You already know who it is. It's ranchera singer's son, Vicente Fernandez. And this, I actually was trying to ask you off of air. Is Pedro Fernandez the same little boy that, like, do you remember that? Did you ever watch that movie when you were a little kid growing up called La Niña con la Mochila Azul? O algo así?
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but I don't know if that was him.
I think it was him. Now, let me go ahead and Google it real quick because, you know, this is like show prep that we should have done.
Because he's like 40-something. So
yeah,
if you saw that show in the 90s, he would have been...
It wasn't a show. It was a movie.
If you would have saw the movie in the 90s, he would have been a...
Hold on. Let me talk to Google.
A grown adult.
What was it? La Niña con la Mochila Azul movie. Pedro Fernandez.
I don't know. I feel like he would have been... Was he a teenager in that movie?
No, he was like a little kid. See, it was. Okay, so...
Was it him?
La Niña de la Mochila Azul. I'm pulling up Wikipedia right now, our number one trusted resource.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I go to it for everything.
Yeah, that's right. It is Pedrito Fernandez.
Okay, so
see, when he was little. It was made in 1979.
See, that makes sense.
Yes,
that makes sense.
Yes, that was like one of the few like all Spanish movies that VHSs that my dad would like put on like over and over and over. And this is the what was that big famous song that came from that? It was Amigo de Alma.
I haven't seen that movie. I think I saw that movie one time in my life. I can't remember anything from it.
You don't know that song?
Mm-mm.
Like every time I hear that song, it's a well of emotions. It's like Amigo de Alma. It's like my soul friend. It's beautiful. Anyway, so happy birthday to Pedro Fernandez. Thank you for giving me one of my favorite childhood movies. So shouts out to that. Moving on, folks, we have a very special guest today. I kind of met him like I meet most of my friends, and how we meet most of our friends nowadays is just through the internet and through random happenstance, you know, because what is actual socialization anymore, especially during COVID times. Pero he is the one, the only Andres Hernandez, also known as his Instagram handle, Toonsthegoodlife. He is a good friend of mine, super, super talented guy, amazing artist, and just an all-around awesome dude and entrepreneur here in local Fort Worth. So we wanted to go ahead and sit down and chat with him.
All right. We're here. All right. So, Veronica?
You want me to do the intro again?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah. All right. All right, so welcoming Toonsthegoodlife, also known as Andres Hernandez, probably not also known, that's probably his actual name. A good friend of mine through Instagram. Like I said, we all meet in very funny ways, and COVID times makes this especially true. Did I ever tell you about how I came across you? Wait, so first off, Toons, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I have to know, do you want us to call you by Toons or Andres?
I suppose I'm more known as Toons than Andres. People will start getting very like, oh, that's your name, you know? It's like, yeah, it's my name. It's my government name. But yeah, Toons, I'll take that.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Toons it is. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Toons, before I go into how I found out about you.
Well, I go by Toons. I'm an artist. I like to claim. I'm just like anyone else, just living about life, wondering about, finding about myself, and learning about myself, just like anyone else. I just happened to go a different route to where I feel everyone has a purpose in life instead of just being born to live. So that's a little bit of where my mindset's at. I feel to introduce myself wise.
Yeah. What do you call home? Like, where did you grow up? Like, where did you grow up in these streets, you know?
The Streetz.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say Southside for sure.
So Fort Worth is where you're born and raised?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So what side of 35, I'm guessing?
35 in Seminary.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Where all the taco trucks, Juanitos, all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Plaza.
Yeah, like we're not, and I'm pretty sure if you listen to like other episodes
You
of the
already
podcast,
know that we're transplants.
yeah, we're not originally from here, so we're still learning, like, you know, a lot of like the areas,
all the good
you know.
taco spots.
Yeah.
Like that respond to my story that you gave me the other day, and you're like, those tacos are too damn expensive, bruh. Wrong
Oh, my
turn.
tacos, yeah.
Yeah.
They're wild. But I mean, they're good. The breakfast is actually pretty dope.
Yeah. So what was life like just kind of growing up on that side?
It was interesting, I say, just seeing everything change from back then to now. I mean, back then, yeah, you know, it had the whole gangs and stuff like that, but I mean, it's just like anywhere else, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Was it pretty
and it just felt it just feels like supernatural. Be home, be around home, and it's good to see the people slowly coming back together in these times of gentrification, whether it's being said or not, you know.
Was it pretty diverse, or was it kind of like just like one? Because, you know, you have certain, like, you know, pockets, of course, in the city when it comes to like Mexicans, you know, black side, we're predominantly white. So was it kind of like diverse where you stay, or was it kind of just more just one kind of people group, I guess?
I mean, it's dominantly Mexicans, but of course, you know, you have a few white kids and black community coming in.
Yeah.
But I mean, mostly Mexicans, you know.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. Oh, and I had forgotten to mention that the reason that I feel like you and I got to know each other, of course, like, again, like the internet is a funny thing, but I remember it was back in January. I think you and I together were out for a walk.
Yeah.
And
cold as hell that day.
Yes, it was cold as hell that day. And I remember walking in Trinity Park. I forget what section that we were on. And suddenly I see this giant ass pillar, and it had like Space Jam characters on it, right? And I was walking past it, and underneath it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I saw the tag underneath it. It says Toonsthegoodlife. And I'm like, I'm going to follow him just because. And like, here we are. And
here we are.
I have to tell you, like, since then, like, I've, you know, kept up with your work through your page and all of that. And
thank you.
You, of course, and you do some really amazing stuff. How long have you been doing murals for the community, and is that the only type of work that you do around here?
It's funny you say that. I've actually started since last year doing murals for the community. Prior to that, I was still training myself to be better when I do come out onto a wall. It's been fun though. It's been very cool. Made more community leaders, more community people. While I'm painting, some people will come up like, hey, like, you're doing a great job. Like, we love this. Thank you. And you have to be humble with it no matter what. You know, thank you not only to yourself, but to everyone who supports you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you, so you said you've been doing it like, for like a year now.
Yes.
Do you think there's still like that stigma a lot of time when it comes to like graffiti artists, or like, you know, people who use like public spaces to, like,
do you get offended when people call it graffiti? Like, is that like a weird sour term now, or can you just call it whatever?
Well, honestly, that's a big thing that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Because since last year, all these graffiti artists, quote unquote, because I have a lot to say
right
leading to that quote, there's been a lot of confusion within the traditional styles of going through those milestones to call yourself that.
Okay.
Some of us have done like the whole legal thing, train yards. Some people just like to quote unquote bomb, which is basically doing little throw-ups around the city, like hollows are just outlines of your name, and kind of like bubble letters, but some people play around with the letters. It's just endless styles coming about. But lean back to when I say quote unquote the graffiti, it's gotten to the point where people can get a spray can, not even starting off with a sketch, but it's also on the terms to where there are no rules in graffiti. It's just one of those things, like,
right.
There's unwritten laws, there's unworded bonds, but in the end, graffiti, there's no definition to it. Just like art, which leads, graffiti to come into those terms of art. It has a certain style to where you can call it graffiti, but in the end, it's still art. So there's no definition to it. There's no visual way you can say it's like, this is what graffiti is. Like,
there's no particular style that goes along with it, basically.
Yes. And it can start from back then. You can see the evolution to now. It's pretty wacky, but it's very interesting to see and live within these times, from growing up, seeing all the stuff back then, the old school documentaries, the videos, the way hip hop helped change graffiti and music itself to what it is now.
So do you think there's still that stigma with maybe a lot of people who are like outside of like the culture, where like maybe it's more accepting now to where, back then law enforcement and like people in general may not appreciate that, hey, this artist is tagging up the side of like an apartment building or like, whatever it may be. Do you think it's become more accepted nowadays that, hey, this is a piece of art and it should remain here? Or how do you feel about that? About like just people, how they feel about just murals on public spaces nowadays?
That's a pretty funny question, because while I was doing the Space Jam, I actually got the cops called on me several times, thinking I was just doing illegal stuff. So I know I'm commissioned by the city. And it's pretty wild to think these people are calling the cops on me when in about 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, etc., their kids are going to be taking pictures with the artist. Like, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So, well, I called the cops on him thinking he was doing graffiti. Or it's very hard to explain nowadays, especially in a city like Fort Worth, where it's very, very conservative compared to Dallas. You go to Dallas, you're going to see it all over the place. Deep Ellum, the freeways, the highways, the streets, of course. And over here, as soon as you see something, the city's going to come in, buff it out super quick, just because they want to maintain that level of
cleanliness or how they perceive
presentation.
Exactly. Visualization to feed the touring people who are coming in, which I understand. I mean, that's just
life. I don't know, but don't you think it's,
I suppose.
Yeah, don't you think it's kind of like, I don't know if ironic is the right word, maybe hypocritical, because like you said, the evolution of what people, the fine line between what people consider graffiti and what people consider murals, that like young 20-something white blondes like stand next to in order to get that Instagram picture, is like a very fine line, depending on like the different styles, and the way that people perceive what was once in like the 80s used to be, tagging up a wall and, tearing down the value of that particular business. Now small businesses are hiring out, muralists and different artists in order to get more attention to their small businesses on the side of their stores,
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, I feel like in community, it's a good thing, because we're gentrified smaller businesses, and then they have property value. It keeps us from being kicked out by the man, basically. So I'm definitely down with that, whether it's being paid or not. That's actually something I want to do more for the Southside community.
Okay. So you kind of mentioned hip hop a little bit when you were talking about just graffiti and all that, and how it kind of like helped bring like exposure to it. Do you think just with hip hop being what it is nowadays, just being this commercial thing in the industry, in the music industry, do you think sometimes people forget of like how graffiti was like rooted in hip hop back when it was like, in its infancy back in like the 80s, and how graffiti very much was, intricate and and like the and the MCing and the DJing and breaking, and I think nowadays if you were to ask somebody very young, they probably don't think that graffiti is linked to hip hop the way it was, and you know, you got how do you feel about that?
It's a little bit sad, but you know, its roots are coming back from illegal stuff and being frowned upon. Still, it's still slowly being accepted and trendy within music and art, the city, whatever it may be. It's really hard to explain on. It's just my best thing I could say is that us holders can still carry on the culture so that way future generations can come up while we're doing these murals and paintings, and they still see it out on the streets like, oh, you know, I want to know, what does that mean? I want to go see them paint. Like, oh, maybe one day you hear this kid behind you. It's like, oh, I want to grow up, be like them, influencing, to where hopefully that influence can carry that little spark onward towards the future to keep on evolving graffiti from what it is now. It's never ending, just like life.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so how does, because I'm really curious about this, how does someone even get to be commissioned by the city in order to do a mural, you know, to be quote unquote on the up and up, like, you know, especially when you're seen as one way? How do you, I guess someone from the, I don't know, someone from the city like sees your work and says, hey, we actually want to hire you to do this for a business. How does that work?
So I really can't give you a straight answer about that, just because the way I got it was just by being myself, catching any commission, any art piece coming my way. It's like, hey, do you want to paint this? What do you want? Do you want to paint that? And being ambitious at the time, it's like, come on, like, I'll take it, you know, let's go this weekend, next weekend, tomorrow night, tomorrow morning. And for me, be commissioned by city was a blessing in disguise, because one of the people who reached out to me one day was this man named Ricky Cottle. Now, Ricky Cottle had hit me up to go paint Riverside Middle School and help out with the changes they're going through their school. It's a very old building, so they kind of want a piece to brighten up the building, in which I had went in, I painted their mascot, which is the Eagles, and kind of had like an energy ball in its mouth to, like, you know, bring morale to the school. Like, hey, you know, it's a very colorful piece. It pops out as soon as you walk out the gym. Like, you know, I want to see that as soon as I step out. And then a couple of months later, he hit me up about doing something at the Trinity basketball courts, excuse me, across from the art courts. After completing the Space Jam, a couple of months later, that same man, Ricky Cotto, I did not know he works for Texas Health Resources. So Texas Health Resources is launching out this project called the Blue Zone Power 9 Project, which is supposed to be a national thing. And there's 9 principles per one. And basically, I'm the one that's kicking it off. So it just happened to be a word of mouth. It happened to be just a surprise to me to be actually commissioned by the city and Texas Health Resources to do such a project that fell into my lap. I didn't reach out to no one. It slowly came to me, and I'm thankful for such, of course.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Were you always like the artist friend growing up, you know, in your friend group? You know, it's like, oh yeah, look at my friend, he can draw you a Pokemon, like that sort of thing?
Through elementary, middle school, high school, but after going to college, I became like a party boy, party and drunk type of thing still. So I kind of lost myself around that time, about 5 years to be exact. But yeah, I was always that person deep down. That's my soul. Nowadays, if I'm not doing some artistic, I'm slowly dying through the soul.
So do you find yourself kind of doing pieces just for the love of it, or are you finding more like professional work, you know, where people are like, hey, I see, not just like murals, but just anything, like, hey, I got this idea and I want to see like your input on it. I want you to design like this poster, whatever it may be, you know. Do you find a lot of that nowadays?
I'm actually taking a good break from commissions right now.
Okay.
Only because I want to focus on more personal stuff through my mind. And the past year, I've actually been focusing a lot on anatomy, only because I want to get more into realism and be like the big heads Da Vinci, Michelangelo, several people who do still hold those old traditional ways to where they can create a human being from the mind instead of looking at a reference picture. And it's a very hard thing to do. I'll be able, my personal stuff, Toons, I have that cartoon hip hop style. So I can look at someone or something and create a graffiti character out of it. And which I'm still trying to get back to my roots. So that's why I want to do more personal things. Slowly getting back into lettering. I stepped away from lettering for a long, long time to get more into realism and characters itself. A lot of things, it's just been so overwhelming to where I have to take a break, disconnect to reconnect into the world, the matrix, whatever it may be, and to come back to myself as a better artist and an artist as one.
For sure, absolutely. And so growing up with all of this passion for art and design and everything that you had in there, what were some of your favorite cartoons to watch growing up that, you know, kind of inspired you? It's like, oh, I like the way they, you know, the animation is here, you know, that sort of thing.
Well, for sure, it started with anime, and as a boy growing up, you love Dragon Ball Z automatically. Mm-hmm. But I started venturing off into Gundam, Yu Yu Hakusho, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, a bunch of 90s type of anime. Yeah. And after that, that's when I started watching Cartoon Network. So, of course, I love Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed and Eddie, Hey Arnold. Those are probably like my big ones, just because the different storylines they had, the different topics they had. Even as a kid, when you look at Courage the Cowardly Dog now, the first episode is super satanic. It's Hotel 666, and then you have the cat portrayed as the devil. It's like, wow, you know, like I got as a kid, but seeing that's pretty dark, and I like that. But
yeah.
You know, like almost said, he said, wow.
Yeah. Okay. And then from that, did you kind of like, so I'm guessing that was that kind of like the initial spark of like, hey, this is like something that I really want to, like, maybe you didn't know it yet, but at the time you were like, hey, this is something that I really like, and that I want to kind of like venture into, like, let me see what else is out there as far as like this art, you know, not just cartoons, but like let me venture into like graffiti, let me venture into like, you know, Renaissance paintings, you know, whatever it may be. That kind of like what kind of got the ball rolling for you?
Actually, I think sometime in middle school, I went through that whole Cholo phase, you know, the Dickies, the brown,
oh yeah,
the homies,
the hairnet.
Yeah.
I did not have no hairnet.
No, hairnet? I rocked the hairnet.
My hair's like super curly, so I couldn't do split back. I couldn't spike it up. So I got the typical fade, and I guess that's what was popping off. I didn't know. It was wacky. Yeah. But during that time, I was doing the whole payaso drawings, the little old English, little tattoo style. Until one day, it was actually my mom that helped get me into it. So back then, just kind of like everyone else, we were still in cable, you know, HBO, Stars, all that good stuff. And there's a documentary called Rock Fresh. Now, one day I was drawing, my mom was like, hey, mijo, come check this out. So, okay, cool, you know. I sat down and I fell in love with it automatically. So the first thing I seen was this dude named Coffee. His name's Coffee because his color palette references very like earthy brown tones, green tones, dark tones, nothing bright and poppy like graffiti's used to see. And he had this crazy style that I'm not sure if y'all can see this tattoo. Probably not.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it has like architectural roots to where he started bringing this into the graffiti game. So I'm already getting introduced to two different styles at one time. And as the documentary proceeds on, you start seeing more old school cats who have that very 70s, 80s style, the bright colors, the bold outlines, the crazy 3Ds, and all this is their name. It's not even a word or a phrase. It's just a name specifically. You always see two different worlds clashing, but at that time I still didn't know anything about that until you start seeing it nowadays in everyday life as a graffiti artist.
Okay.
Right. And so I guess like with all of that, in speaking of your mom, now we all know that like Latinas and Latinos pretty much get a lot of them end up getting stereotyped as, you know, like the guy in the back of the class that can draw, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Was your mom always supportive of how talented you were with, and how talented and how passionate you were with all of your drawings and things like that? Or did she ever tell you, like, no, mijo, you have to think outside of the box, you have to do something different?
Oh no, she was super down with it. When I got caught up the first time, just like, oh mijo, like it's okay, like we're still going to your art show tonight, bro. It's like, yeah, mom.
That is so
I gotta
dope.
go
My mom would
whatever,
fucking kill me. Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, she even took me to go get Whataburger after I got out. It's like, okay, cool. You know, my dad's like, ugh.
Bro.
It was funny because okay, so first of all, my dad's the one who got me into drawing. As a kid, he's drawn me little comic strips in a way, stick figures, and he used to draw little things from I'm a big gamer actually, so from the 90s, the old school Game Informer, Resident Evil was popping off. So I was like, oh dad, like, I like these zombies, like, can you draw that? He'll draw them, and then from the guns I'll kind of like shoot little blanks, make a little scene going on. So it was funny. He's the one who got me into art, but when I got caught up the first time, he was super salty about it. We were so quiet going to Whataburger. There's a train that crosses on Hemphill and Elizabeth Street. And as the train was crossing, there's some tags on there, some pieces. And my dad's all like, look, graffiti, all like sarcastic and shit. It's like, do I already know? Like, it kind of like annoying me, but I'm a kid. I just got out, whatever, you know. It's like, whatever, you know. We still going to March show, right? It's like, yeah. It's okay, cool. Very wacky times. My dad, they both, if I'm doing a commission or a mural, sometimes they'll come out and show some support. Bring, you know, the mom wants to bring like lunch or something like that. It's like, here, me, I'll buy you Chick-fil-A. Here's a Coke. Here's a water for later. Here's a water for your friend if I'm painting with someone, whatever it may be. Everybody loves that damn sweet woman. Then my dad come check it out. It's like, oh, mijo, that's cool. Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's good to see they're both at the same level to what I'm trying to achieve.
Were you a single kid growing up, or did you have any siblings?
I had siblings, but they were kind of scattered out. I had 3 siblings in Austin, and then my 2 older brothers were over here, so they lived with my grandma. I was doing one between my mom and my dad, so I see them every now and then. They'll come to the house, or whenever I go to my grandma's after school, I'll see my brothers just hanging out, doing their thing. But yeah, I was kind of the only single kid growing up, basically. So stuff like that, I have to like go make my own friends and go hang out, just enjoy my own me time.
Okay. So were any of them into art as well, as far as like drawing, or just kind of like doing it for fun?
I believe 2 of my brothers did. One of them, he used to actually tag with some of the older cats from Southside. And then my other brother from Austin, he liked anime too. So he's a big Vegeta fan. He'll take Vegeta, copy him in a way, add a beard to look like himself, and then put United States Marine Corps tattooed on his arm. It's like, man, damn well, Vegeta won't work for that shit. But I mean, it was cool. It was inspiring at that time because they were a lot better than me. It was something I've never seen. But yeah, they're probably like the only 2 artistic ones. My other sister, she was probably more artistic in the way of like getting tattoos, but other than that, she really didn't draw or anything like that.
So outside of your brothers and sisters, have you been able to cultivate a community, or just, you know, people around you that are you know, other homies and stuff that are artists too, that kind of do their own thing? Because that's something that, you know, like we said before, we're transplants here to Fort Worth. We're relatively new, and we're really just trying to get to know the scene around here, you know, like just Latinos, Latinxes, yeah, I mean, business owners, of course, but also like the artist community, you know. We really want to go ahead. We want to make sure that they get the love, especially, you know, the smaller known people, or the people on the up and up. Have you been able to meet a lot of people like you that are really trying to make a name for themselves, or just express themselves in a more public space right now?
That's kind of yes and no answer. only because when it comes to the art community in Fort Worth, they're very. I really didn't think I knew we were going to talk about this, but I was like, whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So the art community in Fort Worth is very weird. Basically, it's like its own clique. If you're not in that art community, you're not going to be in type of shit. And it's pretty sad because some of these cats who come out trying to do the whole graffiti thing, it's like, no. It's like, you're not about it, dude. You're not about the culture. But finding more within the community of other graffiti artists, yes, I can definitely say for sure I found my tribe in a way. I'm still meeting new people, new cats that I used to just like read about in magazines or see them on Instagram. So that's always pretty damn cool. But the art community itself, it's very closed-minded, I feel, within working with each other. And not only like the art community, but I feel like the city itself, within the hip hop or the music community, the bar community. If you're not within that community, you're seen as an outsider, or they don't even want to let you in. They feel in their comfort zone. And there's also internal conflicts, external conflicts with other artists, which it's bound to happen. It's just me specifically. I do my best to stay away from it. Stay off social media as much as I can, except if I want to post something, maybe do a swipe or two. It's like, I'm done. I don't want to say anything,
So do you
just
think
because I want myself within people I feel are negative influence to me and my friends, I'd rather just cut that out.
Yeah, you don't want the bad vibes. You don't want the bad vibes.
Exactly. I want the good vibes. Exactly. Don't be wrong.
So do you think that...
Good vibes.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think that has to do with like people trying to be like gatekeepers to like the certain scene that's been going on, and like, do you think they feel like there's not enough work
to go around?
Yeah, like not everybody can eat, right? They're like, no, this is my space. I've dominated here for a while, and you can't have any of this. That's not. They feel like
scarcity, man. Scarcity.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Scarcity mindset.
It's not enough money to go around. Do you think it's like that kind of mindset?
Anyway, yeah, especially I feel most of it's based on race, with Fort Worth being a very conservative city. Basically, if you're white, you have the job already, real quick. No matter if you have that technique to where you can very respect it, or if you have that real funk pop style that's super. In my opinion, I feel like it's super easy to do. Anyone can do it, but just because you have that ethnicity, now it's like, oh wow, like put this on the building list, put the hashtag so we can tag you and take photos all day, But you can also tell from the I guess I'll consider myself it too, but within that community, the coconuts, they're basically the same way to where I'll just straight up say whitewash themselves to be accepted within that community. It's like, okay, we have this person now, like he or she speaks for the whole Latin community now. Right. We need them in here, It's like, okay, whatever,
They're the token of that little group now. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And I think it's very interesting that you say that. So do you feel like in moments like, right now, like Hispanic Heritage Month, stuff like that, do you feel like that's when, white community leaders take that opportunity to like hire out like Latinx artists, people of color, artists of color, things like that? But when the month is over, what do you get?
Like I said, I really haven't kept up with social media lately, especially within the community. So I'm not very too sure about that. Maybe there's the possibility anything can happen. Well, not anything can happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen with the way our city is.
Right.
Then again, it could just be like a whole trend right now going on that we can all be doing, or I might even be a part of it. And I'm not knowingly aware about it.
Right.
So it's very hard to answer that question, I feel.
And I understand what you mean, Andres, because like for me personally, I think that there's always this weird fine line of like us, especially, you know, like having a podcast or having any sort of like creation where, you know, us as like Latinos or however you identify, you want to express yourself, you want to like express, you know, how proud you are of your culture, this, that, and the other. Sometimes I'll be honest, like I have trouble doing it without feeling like I'm selling out or performing for, you know, white community leaders and things like that, you know, because they're going to love it. They're going to love whatever I do only because I'm brown and because like Ricardo said, I'm a token. So do you ever struggle with that fine line of like taking a commission for this, that, and the other? No, I mean, you need to eat, you need the money, you know.
Yeah.
So where do you rationalize that in your head?
I say, well, just because I haven't had so many commissions from the white community or whatever it may be, I just try to eat, like you say. But
yeah,
it's just super weird to me. Can you go a little bit more in depth to like help me define some, or even give like more of an idea of what I'm trying?
I guess it's kind of like, do you have it? Do you find a hard time like withholding like your integrity? You know, feel like you're not being like pandered around, or you're not trying to pander to somebody. Like, do this because this is who you really are, and not because somebody's trying to get something out of me. You know, and make me look like a fool in the end. You know.
Yeah. No, because I can probably tell a client or a potential prospect already how they're going to be. And even then with my art style, it's probably something they don't like. They probably want the typical realism, the typical, oh, we want to tend to my personal dreams and live out whatever sketch I have in my book. I want to put this on the wall instead of what someone else wants to do. And yeah, I may eat, but sometimes you have to have that balance of, okay, you're going to get this money and exposure from doing this, of course, but is this really you going up onto the wall, or is it just like another picture from Google compared to like mine? Some I have them in the book from like maybe years back, maybe some I did the other day. It's just a sketch, like, hey, you know, let's put down walls. Okay, cool, you know, for sure, I'm down. Like, this is my art for sure, definitely coming on to something. But because I really haven't had too much clientele with that mindset, my ideas from sketches happen to come out on paintings. I've recently turned into more of a canvas wood painter within the past year and a half, just because I know not many people are going to want what I do naturally. And that's probably where the whole illegal graffiti starts coming in, because you can go on a train or underneath the bridge, somewhere secluded, and you can piece up exactly what you want, how you want it, when you want it, how long you want it, and no one can tell you shit, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, are they gonna go and look for it and find this? Oh, you know, we found this. I don't like it.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, what would you say? I'm guessing. Do you have any sobrinos? Do you have any nieces, nephews, anything like that?
Say that one more time, please. I'm sorry.
No, do you have any nieces and nephews from your brothers and sisters, anything like that? Sobrinos?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I have maybe like 7, 9 nieces. I think I have like 2 nephews, maybe 5 if we include the ones that came into marriage type of nephews.
So
yeah, but
so
sure.
What do you tell the kids coming up, you know, that want to get into art, that want to, you know, do what you do, you know, because they see you, their Theo, and they see, you know, working with all this amazing canvas work and muralist work and things like that. And what would you say to them, you know, growing up in the city of, if they were to grow up in the city of Fort Worth, what piece of advice would you give them?
Don't get into trouble, first of all. Second of all, don't let anything consume you to where you know, you want to be an artist, so you have to work for it. That includes you have to make sacrifices, whether it's partying or hanging out with certain people. You just have to maintain that goal and keep that mindset. I know it's very hard because growing up, you start becoming more exposed to so many different lifestyles. Like you want a taste of it, you want to live it maybe. And if you really are an artist, it's always going to be in your heart to where in the back of your mind, it's like, I have to do this. Like, why is it in the back of my mind all the time? It's eating me. What's eating me? I have to feed it now, start feeding that ambition. And yes, you may not be the best at first, but no one was. No one just popped out the womb. It's like, hey, I'm Picasso all of a sudden, or I'm Michelangelo. It takes time, takes dedication, takes the ambition, the mindset, everything. It's a very, how do you say it? I'm not even going to say it's stressful. It's just a very consuming thing as an artist, I feel sometimes.
Consuming, that's a good word.
But I wouldn't tell them that. I wouldn't tell them that if they're at age 8 asking me that question until post high school. It's, oh, hey, you know, congrats, you know, he graduates. Like, let me tell you about art real quick now, about that message that I left you about 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that about wraps up the interview. Thank you so much, Toons. I really appreciate you doing this for me.
Oh, for sure. Thank you, both of y'all, for having me on.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my first time, so it's pretty cool. It's interesting.
Yeah, shout out your social media and all that, where they can find you.
Anything that you want to shout out, go ahead and give it to them.
Shout out to my Instagram handle at Toonsthegoodlife, TOONSTheGoodlife. I know it's a mouthful, a lot to take in maybe. Shout out the homie.
You kind of cut out a little bit at the end. You want to shout out your homie again? We kind of missed it on this side.
Which homie? Because I had like 10 homies just now.
Okay.
Start with the first homie and then go down the list. Like, this damn internet is driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Oh
Girl,
my God.
move closer to the router.
Yeah.
Shout out Nope, Eder, Joe Skills, Psyker, KTK, the homie Obese, Nico, all my homies in Dallas and stuff who put me onto walls, got to pay nets too. Shout out to the folks. Shout out to anyone who's just trying to be an artist or even living the dreams itself. Just maintain, don't get distracted, don't lose yourself, man. That's about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Shout
out wise.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate it. You know, continue, like you said, striving. You know, your art itself already, you know, speaks volumes. And you know, we just wish you the best in the future.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all. I'll be listening to y'all.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate
it.
All right, we're back. Hopefully you enjoyed that interview with Toons, really dope person. Check out his art. Like he said, he mentioned his handle at the very end.
I love him. What a sweetheart. What a dope person. I love him to death.
Yeah. Really great having him on the show. So, moving on. So, our first little topic, order of business. I feel like we talk about things kind of like too heavy sometimes, Vettel, which is necessary.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with talking about a little bit more.
It's a heavy world.
Yeah.
No, sometimes it's not so heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what you make it, you know.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's necessary. But this time, I kind of want to talk about something from the past that maybe a lot of people haven't talked about in a while. Maybe it's like just kind of like lost in the memory of like
blast from the past. Like, I have blocked this. You know what? We should have mentioned it actually to Toons. Now that I think about it,
you know,
just
because it's art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all art.
He would have gotten a kick out of it.
So if you were a little Hispanic boy or girl growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, and you maybe frequent the paneria, maybe your local Mexican supermarket, you probably would have ran into like little
vending machine,
little capsule vending machine. You know, whether it had the little hand that stretches and like slaps your friend in the face, whether it had like,
or you would beg your mommy or your papi for a quarter.
Yeah, or 2 quarters. You know, to get the really good one.
Oh,
you know, the fake tattoos, the awesome sticker that you can put on your binder and show off to your friends. You know, plethora of things. But one of the big things, and for people who don't know this is still the highest selling vending toy ever in the United States.
I did not know that.
Yes. A blast from the past, like Veronica says. The homies. Do you remember this, Veronica?
I remembered it as soon as you said the word, because they have not come to the realm of the front of my consciousness in like, I don't know, I would say a good 15 years. I've not thought about these things.
Bro, like
how would you describe it to somebody who doesn't know what the homies are?
So the homies, to kind of put it in a very to like summarize it, it was this like group of like vinyl toys that was created by a comic book, or you just say artists in general. I think they originally started off as like a comic strip, created by David Gonzalez. And what they were was pretty much kind of like a representation of like the Cholo
action figures, kind of.
Yeah, like the Hispanic like community kind of personified in toys, you know? Like you had like different a variety of characters, you know, and one was like maybe the super funny one was like the suave slick back hair one was like the one that you didn't want to mess with, you know. You had the sexy, and you see the oversized,
you know, like baseball jerseys, you know, the baggy pants, the do-rags, like all of that.
It was very much rooted in like Cholo lowrider culture, you know, predominantly from the West Coast. But of course, you know, that culture is kind of spread everywhere from like Arizona to Texas. You can find that thing anywhere. So that's what they were. And they used to sell, like I said, little vinyl toys, and you could put them.
Were they vinyl? Like, I thought they were just plastic.
I think they were vinyl. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were like
I don't even know what vinyl. I thought like vinyl just means vinyl, like in records. Like
no. It's like the actual material.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. They're little plastic like Cholo action figures. That's the best way that I've ever described it.
It does say plastic. Yeah. Okay. But I guess I read somewhere they were also vinyl. Okay. You're right. But they were a hit. Like from the jump, when these things came out, they were everywhere. Like when you went to school, when you were on the bus, when you were like just talking to your friends in elementary school, they were it. And I'm pretty sure like even crossed over to like older adults because they just liked the design of it. Maybe they didn't have the toys.
Did you have like the uncle or the tío that would like have a bunch of them like lined up on his dashboard?
I had the cousin. I had my older cousin.
The cousin that would have like a bunch of them lined up on his dashboard
against like his he had like the headrest that kind of had like a little shelf on it, so you could just like he just lined them up. I had that. Now I kind of came into it not really knowing about the toys, but I knew more about the drawings. So like I used to see like all the images. So like I used to go on like homies .tv, which is still up, and like just.
I never knew it was based off of like. Wait, you said it was based off of a comic strip?
Originally, David Gonzalez created a comic strip about it.
Yeah, what was it like? Did it have some sort of plot? Or...
Yeah, it said right here, featured a cast of characters from its youth, introduced in the year 1998.
So was it like, and like you have to conceptualize this for me because otherwise I'm not gonna have any idea. Because I just know the action figures. So was this like our South Park, so to speak?
It was,
but like with the comic strip.
I don't know too much about the comic strip. I don't know too much about the history.
Because
of like
South Park, like what random ass like town were they based off of?
In South Park. That's the name of the town.
Yeah, but like, what is that in the Midwest?
Or... Oh, Colorado. It's a little tiny town in Colorado.
Okay, all right. So like, Homies was based off of what in like South Cali?
Yeah, East LA. Yeah, East LA. You know, Southern California, East LA.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. It was their South Park.
I don't know because it was never. I don't like to call it South Park or anything like that because it was never like animation.
Oh, okay. So like. Oh, okay. So no talking,
no, nothing. It was like I can't even describe it. Like to me, it was like its own universe, its own realm. Like it captivated like the Hispanic community, I think, in a way that I don't think anybody had ever seen a toy do. Because it finally like really like gave a lot of people like representation. You know, like they saw themselves in a lot of these characters. What are you talking about? Like I remember a Joker. You know, the super like fun and like if you go to the website, you can see like a little bio about every single character. Like it was some dope stuff. Like you can like go to everybody. Who is it? Silent. You could go to
yeah, but I mean, if you're honest, like not a
Sad
lot.
Girl.
Yeah, but not like rarely any of us like just knew their names. We mostly just liked them because they looked cool, and like you said, like maybe on a deeper level, like they were a representation of us or of loved ones that we knew. I personally never got into the homies, but I was around them, and I know like I know my cousins, my primos, got really into them. Like, I had one cousin, Lali, that, like you said, would collect them, and like every time he would get like 20, like a quarter or 50 cents or whatever, he'd go up to the vending machines, and he'd cop one of them, and like he'd just keep it around or keep them in his pockets, things like that. And I had another primo that would collect Pokemon cards. So we all had our thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like you're right. I feel like people that really identified with that side of the culture were really, I don't know, it didn't
they felt seen.
they felt seen. They felt like it was something, because we really haven't had anything like that didn't feel like a gimme as far as representation goes.
And that's why it did so well. Like I said, the highest selling vending machine toy ever, over 1 million sold. That's insane. Like, and at the height of it, people who were in that industry of like had like vending machine businesses, they were making a killing, an absolute killing off of just the homies. They could just sell homies and they'd be set. Once the vending machine industry kind of started dying down, then you saw a lot of businesses kind of like close down because they just couldn't maintain, because the homies just weren't they weren't a thing anymore. It kind of came and went.
Fads come and go. So it's a thing.
One of the big things that kind of like struck it early on was that a lot of people didn't like it because they saw it as a negative representation of stereotype, and also like of gang life, right? Because a lot of them are let's not kid ourselves. A lot of them, people who are probably based on this, were probably gang affiliated, and that's just the reality of things. I have a stance on that. I don't think that is necessarily a negative thing. That's just kind of like just how life is from the get. You're gonna have a variety of characters, and some of them may be doing some less than favorable things. Let's put it at that. So that was one big thing that hit it off, that kind of like a lot of people didn't like. But I think because of that, how like negativity and like people telling you to like, don't buy that, don't look at that, don't listen to that usually will force you to do the opposite. Exactly. So that's
rebellious as a culture.
Exactly. So that's what kind of the homies did. People were like, saw it as like this like hip subculture, like, oh, it's negative, like they're representing gang life, and people who don't really like listen to authority like that were probably like, let me check it out. Like,
now, question: did homies come before or after the gigantic black T-shirts with like Bugs Bunny and like Tweety Bird?
So that happened like 04, 05. This happened in 98.
Okay, so. All right, because like you already know how I feel about those. I was never a big fan, but to each his own. But I had no problem with the homies, because like I said, I had cousins that were really emphatic about it, and to me, it wasn't like they were blending two different kinds of like animations or cartoons and making it something that it wasn't. It was. They were strictly what they were, and they weren't trying to be anything different, and that's what was really refreshing about it. I mean, I'll be honest, like I wasn't like super into them, but I love the fact that they exist now. And like you said, it was probably the last bit of representation I feel like that we've had in a while that didn't feel like, like somebody was trying to placate us, trying to give us something just for the sake of, oh, look, here you are, here you're representative. So right. Yeah, for sure. Shout out to the homies. Shout out to my cousin Lali, who love those hoes, Yeah,
shout out to David Gonzalez. And yeah, like I said, it was a time to be alive when this stuff was at its height. Mm-hmm. All right, Vettel, what you got next?
So, I mean, just quick aside here. I don't know if anybody's seen, but there has been a YZY GAP announcement. Again, we probably talk about Kanye and Issa Rae way too much on the show, courtesy of me, but I don't care. This is my podcast. No, okay. So, YZY GAP came out with the new hoodies that they're going to be selling, and they're actually like themed off of his albums. Like as far as the colors go. So you have the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, you have the Graduation, you have TLOP, you have all of that good stuff. And how much did you say that they retailed for?
They're $90 each, and they're already all sold out.
Yeah. So there goes.
So good luck with the resales.
Plans. Yeah. Good luck with the resales. But I don't know. I mean, to be quite honest with you, even if they weren't sold out, I don't know if I would cop them Because you look at the design, literally it's just a solid color that's like representative, like, you know, that maroonish magenta color that My Beautiful Dark Fantasy is like that's just one solid color hoodie.
I really wanted the brown one that was late registration because I went to the website and I was like, come on, have one in a large, and they didn't. They had the only size they had left was extra small, and I'm like, bro, like hardly anybody ever buys that because hardly anybody wears extra small.
You could have got one from I'm not.
You do not wear extra small.
Excuse you.
And that's no offense to you.
Excuse you.
You do not wear extra small. Okay.
Whatever.
Let's be realistic.
All right. But anyway, okay. So I have them pulled up here. They're pretty cool. Yeah. But I mean, to be honest, and maybe this is this whole like minimalism shit that I don't understand. I would not pay $90 for like a solid color hoodie and like nothing else just to say that and you know me, I love Kanye everything, but I don't know. I'm not about to do that stuff. I do hope the best for the company, and I hope that like he does come out with I can't wait for when they come out with more Yeezy stuff, and hopefully it'll be something that doesn't get sold out in like 0.5 seconds. So that's mine.
Yeah.
And all right, so we have your favorite. We haven't done an official poll on this, but like every time somebody brings up the podcast, people go crazy for this segment, and Mexicano just lives for it. So you guys, let's go ahead and stroke his ego once more with Conspiracy Corner.
Conspiracy Corner.
Conspiracy Corner.
The one and only. Come on, man. Like I said in the last podcast, the moneymaker. Like it's like pre-Conspiracy Corner, post-Conspiracy Corner when it comes to the podcast. And that's what
I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
It's like, was it PC? Or maybe you should call it something else because both of them will be PC. So it's post-Conspiracy Corner. But I digress. Anyway, so this week's Conspiracy Corner is kind of a doozy. And it kind of ties into like another conspiracy that I'm going to get into, but not really too much. So, like I always do, I'm going to start off with a question. Veronica, have you ever heard of the hollow moon theory?
No, I have not.
So,
please elaborate.
So, there are people out there that believe that the moon itself is hollow, and that what we see as the moon is actually some sort of space structure built by aliens to monitor the Earth. So within the moon, what we call the moon, according to these people, is a bunch of extraterrestrials inside the moon, kind of controlling,
recording us,
whatever it may be, controlling, recording us, maybe controlling us, maybe sending down signals to humans down on Earth through the moon, and that is the moon's actual purpose, and that it's not this giant piece of like rock that just comes out at night.
So are you saying that in theory these aliens are controlling the waves?
Yeah, in a sense.
Yeah, because we say that the moon controls the waves, right?
Yeah, it affects, the waves in the ocean.
So does that mean that the aliens are also the ones that control the moods of these zodiac bitches that like say, oh no, I like heat up your car because like my moon was in Libra?
I think you're starting to know too much.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm literally just making stuff up. I don't understand the zodiac, but like I don't know. It's a theory. It's a theory.
It's a crazy theory, and this all kind of ties back into like ancient aliens as well. That they kind of constructed this years ago with this advanced technology that we couldn't even begin to comprehend, and that through that, they've kind of
but that wouldn't be the first time that people said that we had earthly or like semi-earthly structures created by aliens, right? Isn't Stonehenge a thing?
Oh yeah, so many things.
Pyramids.
The Nazca lines, like so many things. Excuse me. Throughout history that have been rooted, that people think root back to like a greater civilization that maybe isn't from this planet. That because there's no way humans could have done that, which I have my own criticism about. Because to me, a lot of that stuff is like rooted in like racism, like to think that humans, especially
indigenous people
could not have built, like these people who like came over to like the New World. They're like, there's no way that these primitive natives could have built
their
this.
own math and had their own language their own architecture.
Yeah, a lot of that's rooted in like colonialism and like racism, to be honest. But like I said, that's another topic. But this also ties into like hollow Earth. Like there's people that believe that the Earth is hollow and that there's a giant other civilization that live within the Earth, and that's where you get concept of like Middle Earth, like from like the World of the Rings. You
From
get
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, you get concepts like even
Is
like Harry
that
Potter.
what it was based off of? Hold on. So you're saying that to me? Okay, so you're telling me that Lord of the Rings, when they say Middle Earth, they literally like, what was the name of the guy with the big feet? The Balbo starts with a B.
Yeah.
The Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo Baggins, yeah.
Like him and all of the other MFers, like they lived in the middle of the earth, and that's what it was based off of.
I mean, in the book series, I don't know if like Tolkien has never said that it was based off.
We are the wrong people to talk about this. Have you ever read Lord of the Rings?
I have. But Tolkien,
well, I haven't, so.
But Tolkien has never said that his inspiration was Hollow Earth. Like, I know he was into like mysticism, and like mysticism kind of ties into like Hollow Earth sometimes if you like look into it, because you know they believe that there's like this giant, like there's many names for it. They call it Agartha. There's like Shambhala. You know, all these like names you may have heard that people believe.
I definitely may have heard
that people exist, that people think exist within the center of the earth, and that it's not just like this. It's not just more rock. It's not just like magma. It is actual civilization there that like retreated.
You know, there was a book series that I read as a teenager that was kind of like that. Artemis Fowl.
Oh yeah.
You remember that? Mm-hmm. Where all like the fairies and the goblins and all of them like literally lived in the center of the earth because like they tried to run away from humans because they were overrunning the surface of the earth, and so they learned how to like live within the heat and stuff like that. Now that is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that kind of ties back to like this, and a lot of this is like old theories of like what the earth was back then. Like I'm talking about like 14th, 15th century, and it kind of never went away. It maybe became less mainstream, but like the idea that there may be something within the earth kind of always existed, and that kind of like made its way into like pop culture and to like films and books. So like it's a thing for sure. Like people have always talked about what if there is another side of the earth that we're not aware of that's inside. And that, like I said, that kind of ties into the moon being hollow as well. So it's a crazy thing, but that's what we're here to talk about on Conspiracy Corner. The craziest things you've never heard of.
Yeah, and that was it. Conspiracy Corner.
Yeah.
All right, so what we have next is the finale. The cherry on top of this podcast is always Good Looking Out. This is where we go ahead and we tell you what we've been listening to, what we've been watching, what we've been into in general. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw you off mine. This one is actually for all of my bilinguals out there, and by bilingual I mean the people that actually like speak and understand or are trying to understand Castilian Spanish. So if you guys go to Netflix, there is a Netflix series out by the name of Valeria. So Valeria is, the best way that I can describe it is really more of this. And you know what? I kind of hate myself for only being able to describe certain things in our culture based off of like American things in our culture, like what I just did with the whole like South Park thing. It kind of drives me crazy, but to put it simply, Valeria is a story about 4 friends in the middle of, I think, Madrid, Spain, that are just going through their love life. You know, the main character, Valeria, really wants to be a writer. And so she kind of falls into this thing of, you know, basically writing about the downfall of her marriage and how she has an affair with this guy, and it ends up being like a #1 bestseller. And you know, her other friends are a lawyer and like a marketing agent. It's basically very Sex and the City-esque, and it's very very brazen in the fact that, you know, you have, you know, your more scandalous friend, your more shy friend, like the very like stereotypical like early 2000s tropes of like a friend girl group. It very much had that. I think what's very refreshing about it though is that it does touch up on a lot of topics that I have not yet seen like being touched on in completely like Spanish shows. Things like, you know, date rape, things like when you think about shows like Girls, and when you think about shows like Sex in the City, where they would have complete scenes of like the girls, getting serviced, so to speak, by their men. Again, I don't know what is and isn't allowed on YouTube. So,
kissing.
Yeah, being kissed very passionately by their man. And, the men basically doing all of the work. Like, they have those scenes and they're very brazen about it. And that's something that, for all intents and purposes, especially with like Latino or Hispanic TV shows or movies in general, they don't focus a lot of movies and a lot of shows on women's sexuality, on women's pleasure, and so even though even though the very very much the concept of that with Sex in the Cities, with girls, with even with shows like Insecures, is a very commonplace thing here, it's very cool and it's very refreshing to see that there are shows in Spanish, so to speak, that are basically doing the same thing. So shouts out to them. Again, the show is called Valeria, and it stars Diana Gomez, Silma Lopez, Paula Malia, and Teresa Riot. So those are the four main characters: Valeria, Lola, Carmen, and Neria. And if you are a woman and that's your kind of the heck. If you're a man and those are your kind of shows, where you like, just girls getting into debauchery and keeping it real and like getting theirs, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's all in Spanish, so be forewarned. Be prepared to read subtitles like I have to do sometimes because it's in Castilian Spanish. And yeah, I give it a solid 7 out of 10 Veronica stars. I've really enjoyed it, and it's been an awesome change of pace for what it is.
Disclaimer, for people who don't know, Castilian is kind of Castellano. It is similar to Spanish, but it's not Spanish.
It's like Italian, it's not Spanish, but you can still understand some of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Spanish that we speak, if I remember the technical term, is Castilian, but then you have the other version where it's it sound like you hear it and you're like, oh, that's Spanish, and out of nowhere they throw this word at you that you never heard in your life, and wait, what? So like Vero said, some of this stuff we don't even understand, so we got to turn on the subtitles to really get the full grip of the show. How many episodes have you seen?
I have seen all of the first season, and I'm halfway through the second season, and I think they're getting renewed for a third.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds dope. All right, so moving on to my good looking out. Taking a little bit of a turn here, nothing TV movie related, but this time I'm talking about
switching it up.
Yeah, talking about some music this time, and this is nobody new, but they may be kind of new to people who don't really keep up with underground, the more lesser known artists when it comes to hip hop. So I want to highlight Stove God Cooks out of Syracuse, upstate New York, and Rome Streetz out of New York City.
Tell them how to spell that last one.
Rome Streetz, Rome, street spelled STREETZ. I almost forgot to spell street for a moment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Rome Streetz, Stove God Cooks, two dope artists. That really bring back that grimy early 2000s 90s sound. But
hip hop?
Yeah, hip hop, but updated. So and the projects I want people to check out is for Stove God. Check out his only commercial release, Reasonable Drought, completely produced by Rock Marciano, another dope artist. If you haven't heard of him, if you keep up with underground hip hop, you probably know who Rock Marciano is. One of my favorite artists / producers. Amazing project put out by Stove God. Just if you like that really grimy drug talk, then this is the album for you. And then Rome Streetz, he's gonna hit you with a lot of knowledge base, witty,
J. Cole-esque.
No, street talk.
Okay, thank God.
No. He's knowledge and smart about it, but it's still that street talk. Mm-hmm. He's gonna tell you the real what goes on in his life and what he's seen. And the album you should check out with him is his collaboration with DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill fame. Shout out Muggs, legend. Is the Deaf and the Magician album, which came out earlier this year. So that one from front to back, amazing. Like I said, dark, gritty, grimy beats. So check them boys out. I think Rome Streetz is signed to Griselda, so Westside Gun, Benny the Butcher, Conway, that whole team.
You had me at Benny the Butcher.
Yeah. And then I think Stove God is on the brink of being signed to Griselda. So I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but I think there's talk. So shout out to them. Shout out to the whole Griselda movement. You said
that they've both been making music for a minute, right?
Yeah. Stove God actually used to go by a different name. And this is kind of like his like almost second try at rap. And he's, making big waves. And then Rome Street, yeah, he's been doing it for like a solid decade, I think now.
So why do you think that neither of these have popped off just yet?
Oh, because of sound. It's very underground. But like we've been seeing that sound, that gritty, grimy sound, make a resurgence, man. Ever since like Griselda and a lot of other artists, Action Bronson, what's my dude, Planet Asia. Like a lot of people have been bringing back this sound that people thought would never come back, would never be commercially viable, and will be able to like sustain a fan base. And they've been kind of proven wrong.
But I mean, that's the thing is, especially with music, is that everything's cyclical. Everything's gonna come back around, including that like more gritty shit. So, yeah. Shouts out to them.
So yeah, maybe right now it may not be like the artist that people know right off the back. But trust me, I feel like as this sound kind of like keeps finding its way more to the surface, this gritty, grimy Wu-Tang, Nas, Helter Skelter sound from the 90s is gonna, come back full force.
Okay. All right. And so I guess do you want to give them your Ricardo rating?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Since we don't really do music on the Lookin Out.
5 out of 5 for both projects, in my opinion.
5 out of 5. Oh, okay. You throw me off every time you do different scales. I'm like, what's out of 10?
5 out of 5 for Definite Magician by Rome Streetz, and then Reasonable Drought by Stove God. 5 out of 5.
So 10 out of 10 for both.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And that was our show, mi gente. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I hope that you're really loving this season because we are really loving making it for you. And that's our show. I'm going to go make myself a chicken sandwich. I am starving.
Yeah, I'm going to make myself a sandwich too and stand up because my back is killing me.
All right. And with that, we love ya and we out.
Yeah. Oh.
My hope is that you see how Spanglish has closed the gap and formed a synergistic approach for communication. Thank you.